Good evening. I have 7 o'clock, and I call the meeting to order and ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Here.
Miss Emily Hamburg,
Here.
Mr. Tom Schmitz,
Here.
and Mr. John Welch.
Present.
And you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. I see Dr. Lindstedt was supposed to be here, and I don't see him. So let's bow our heads in prayer for a moment of prayer. Amen. So I'll lead everyone in pledge allegiance to the American flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible.
Next item is agenda additions. Do we have any agenda additions to consider? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So the consent agenda contains the minutes of the June 18th, 2024 regular city council meeting. In addition, the annual municipal water conservation plan is on the consent agenda for acceptance. KDHE requires any provider of potable water to maintain a water conservation plan should an emergency or drought hit their system. The plan must be adopted annually with CCUA, City of Wichita, and KDHE receiving copies. The Utility Advisory Committee reviewed the plan and worked with staff on the updated version in your packet. Finally, 3 appointments are on this consent agenda for council to consider, confirming John Charleston for the Planning Commission and Danny Broyles and Terry Ercolani for the Utility Advisory Committee. As a side note, Art Tenbrink, the chair of the Utility Advisory Committee, has been recovering from cancer the last several months and not able to attend the meetings. Terry Ercolani is the vice chair and has done a great job filling in as chair with Art while Art recovers. Keep Art in your prayers, and a big thank you to Terry for stepping up and keeping things on track with the Utility Advisory Committee. And with that, is there any discussion? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. All in favor, say aye.
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 I hear 5 ayes, so all opposed is 0, I assume. So that motion passes 5-0. Next item is discussion and approval of appropriations ordinance. And this encompasses the June 12th, 2024 through June 23rd, 2024 expenses and 1 payroll cycle. This expenses amounted to just under $926,000. And of those reported expenses, just over $341,000 are infrastructure costs for developments, new developments. And these costs are paid through special assessments. Any questions or concerns with the appropriations ordinance? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I'll move to approve appropriations ordinance number 24-12.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Ms. Hamburg. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And that motion carries 5-0. I have no citizen requested appearances tonight, so we'll move on to citizen concerns. Any citizens that would like to speak to council? Do you, Madam Clerk, do you have any cards? No. I did not think so, but I thought I'd ask. Okay. If none, we'll move on to public hearing. So we have a industrial revenue bond. At the June 18th meeting, the council approved a letter of intent to issue taxable industrial revenue bonds for WHAM Investments, LLC. A notice of public hearing was published in the city's official newspaper of record, and notice was mailed to local taxing entities. Now the city council will conduct the public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear from taxpayers, citizens, and other stakeholders regarding the proposed issuance of the bonds. Later in the meeting, the council will consider a resolution of intent to issue the bonds. So I hereby open the public hearing. And if anyone here would like to speak, please come to the podium and state your name and address, and we'll allow you 3 minutes. And I see no one coming forward, so I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Mr. Welch
I'll second.
and a second by Mr. David. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And that motion carries 5-0. So we'll move on to council member reports. Ms. Hamburg, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. On June 20th, I attended the tour of the lift stations, the 3 in Park City and the 2 here in Bel Air that go to CCUA. And that was really informative. It's like I said, during CCUA, I always try to appreciate those folks. But when you're in 100-degree weather and you see the sights and smells that they deal with in their job, you appreciate them that much more. So appreciate Adam from Bel Air and Tony from CCUA and Zach from Park City for leading that. On June 27th, I filled in for Councilmember David at CCUA as an alternate. On Saturday, the 29th, participated in the Eagle Lake Park cleanup along with Mayor. Had a few new citizens, and it was a good morning. And then just want to thank the rec staff and the volunteer coaches for the ball season that just ended. My kids really, really enjoyed it, and always appreciate everybody that it takes to put that on. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Welch,
I have no report.
Mr. David.
No report, but I do want to thank the Bel Air PD. There was a large tree down on 45th with this storm, and they were out there in no time.
Great. That is good. Thank you. Mr. Dean.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a few items. Thank you. Wanted to update everybody that Kim Neufeld, formerly Bike Walk Wichita, now is with WAMPO. She's actually a multimodal transportation safety planner. She actually asked me recently to volunteer, and I have agreed to volunteer for a Safe Routes to School Plans Consultant Selection Committee. So there's grants that have been given out, and now they're looking to select an engineering firm to help put together those plans. And so our committee will be dealing with those decisions over the next month. I'm excited to support those efforts because I think that's all good things for these communities to be looking at, making safer routes to schools. So appreciate Kim reaching out. Also, the K254 meeting this last month, we had an update on the strategic planning that we're undertaking. An idea came up of potentially partnering with South Central Kansas Transportation Coalition for legislative updates. We'll be looking into that. And we also made a proposition or asked for volunteers for a marketing committee. So we're looking for a marketing chair and citizens that would be interested in helping serve on a marketing committee to help with helping market the K254 Corridor Association better. We're also considering other changes to the way we run meetings, to agendas, and various other things. So excited to see our strategic planning continue forward. And then lastly, I will be hosting the Bel Aire Community Walking Event, which is not this Saturday, but next Saturday, July 13th. I believe that's correct. And it'll be at Central Park, and we'll start at 8 a.m. just to try to beat the heat. So anybody is welcome to join us. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Schmitz.
Yes,
You
Mr. Mayor, I've basically been getting all of my electronics set up and email, et cetera, and everybody's been very helpful to get all that done in my paperwork. So that's all going well. And I did take a look at the Bel Aire Rec Center fields. They definitely will probably need some loving care. So, but I did take a look at it. That's all I have to report.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the mayor's report. So this is a little bit of a long one because several things going on this last couple of weeks. So I did receive a note from Victor Hogstrom, the President and CEO of PBS Kansas, thanking the city for our partnership with PBS. This support means a lot to PBS Kansas and benefits the city of Bel Aire. On June 20th, I attended the Central County Fire District Steering Council. Chief Williams said the fire district responds to some 7,700 crossover calls per year. 4,500 of those calls are fire district responding to calls in Wichita, and 3,200 are fire Wichita Fire responding to calls in the fire district. So the station in Bel Aire is a big part of these numbers since it is so close to Wichita, and Wichita does not have a fire station in the relative area. There is a boundary called the black line where Wichita does not respond to calls outside that black line. This line has been moved out, so the Wichita Fire will be responding to more calls in the fire district, and the GIS that 911 uses has been updated for this new boundary. To date, the steering council has not seen a proposed fire district budget for 2025. I sent a note to the fire district board, also known as the Kansas or the Sedgwick County Commission, and Ryan Beatty is working on a plan to review that proposed budget with the steering council at its meeting on July 18th. I'm not able to attend that meeting, and while there is no provision for alternatives to sit in for me, these are open meetings. So if any council member would like to attend, please feel free to do so. On June 21st, I attended the K254 Corridor Development Association meeting along with Councilmember Dean. We heard a presentation about how cashless tolling on the turnpike could impact freight along K254. Truckers look for routes that are safe, that save time. John Prather surmises that cashless tolling will increase freight traffic on the turnpike and thus increase traffic on K254. On June 25th, I attended the Regional Water Needs Consult. This is sponsored by KDHE. As we all know, Kansas is running out of water. 83% of our water is used for agriculture, 11% for urban needs. Agriculture is a significant player in the Kansas economy, producing about $12 billion per year. So it is clear that we need to work as a state to help address this issue. There are 3 areas identified to address that were needed to address: reservoirs, as they are filling up with sediment; aquifer investment, the aquifers are in decline; and the water quality. This includes conservation and reuse. There seems to be a bit of a hodgepodge of the state's water plan. So in the area of aquifers falls under 3 departments: the Kansas Water Office, the KDA Division of Water Resources, and KDA Conservation. And these combined have a total of 20 programs. In the water quality area, under 6 departments: Kansas Water Office, the Kansas Department of Commerce, Kansas Corporation Commission, KDWP, KDA Conservation, and KDHE. There are 46 programs in that section. And then the areas of reservoirs under the 3 departments: Kansas Water Office, KDA Conservation, and KDA Division of Water Resources, there are a total of 23 programs. So in total, there's 89 programs among these 3 departments to address water. There may be some double counting of programs. I did not sanitize the information to look for duplicates, but it's clear that in order to have a consistently managed progress in the area of water, the state needs to take a serious look at these departments and programs. Some very significant consolidation is clearly needed, if nothing more than to provide real leadership. Overall, it was an educational conference. Another is being planned for the fall. On June 27th, I attended the Chisholm Creek Utility Authority monthly meeting, as well as Ms. Hamburg. I think Mr. Justin Smith, but he's no longer with us as a council member. So we did adopt a travel and mileage reimbursement policy to give clear direction on how and when such costs should be paid to employees. We tabled approval of the 2025 budget pending an en banc meeting of the members. Bel Aire and Park City are the members of the CCUA. So an en banc meeting is being planned for all respective city council members for both cities. We agreed to hold this meeting on July 25th at 5:30 p.m. here in Bel Aire City Council room. This should be a fairly short meeting, and all Bel Aire City Council members should plan to attend this meeting. I plan to send out a meeting notice maybe tomorrow. It might be later in the week. It depends on how some other things develop. So please add this to your calendar. And the regular CCUA meeting will also occur on that same day, 10 minutes after the en banc meeting adjourns. So on Saturday, June 29th, I joined several other Bel Aire residents, including Councilmember Emily Hamburg, for the cleanup at Eagle Lake Park. I am really glad to see the community working together to help Bel Aire be a cleaner city. And I encourage all citizens to look for such opportunities in the future. At our last meeting, I announced that former city attorney Jackie Kelly was running for district court judge. Two of her opponents are Bel Aire residents, Jared Kiefer and Joshua Wright. So just it's kind of like Bel Aire's going to get a lot of representation in that race. There are actually 4 people running, so it's interesting that that's that way. So as everyone saw during last Tuesday's debate, our president is in serious cognitive decline. The CBS poll conducted since Thursday shows 72% of Americans believe that Biden does not have mental and cognitive health to serve as president. This is a very serious matter for our nation. The president presented to the whole world his level of cognitive decline. This is not about political perspectives. What happened on Thursday was a personal embarrassment for the president and for the United States of America. President Trump even warned bad actors to not play around. I encourage all to pray for the president, for the United States, that this plays out over the next several months, and pray that this will work out to the best of our nation and the common good. So on Saturday, July 13th, I think Councilmember Dean talked about this second Saturday walk at Bel Aire Central Park. So I encourage all to join in that community activity. And lastly, this coming Thursday, July 4th, we celebrate the 248th anniversary of the independence of the United States of America. A note about fireworks safety, please be very careful with these. There have already been 2 firework-related fires in Hayesville this last Saturday. I hope everyone has a safe and enjoyable Independence Day celebration, and I'll now move on to our city attorney's report.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a report this evening, but thank you.
All right, thank you. Move on to a city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'll switch over. Want to talk to you a little bit about Denise Park and what we're seeing there. Marty and the guys are out there today, and if you remember, we had kind of a sinkhole going on where there's a drainage pipe, and Marty started at the end of that property, and I guess here's the overview of it. Bel Aire Village Edition, a lot of water runs through that neighborhood and through that pipe, and this is where Denise Park is, right here at the bottom, and that corrugated pipe runs through Denise Park and down underneath the railroad. That's a better representation of it. What happened today is all the pipe was deteriorated underneath, as we probably expected, but we kind of expected maybe a 10-foot length would need to be replaced, but we kept going and going and it kept being deteriorated. So today about 3 o'clock, he contacted me and said, I need to get somebody out here to see if we can't fix this problem. It's a little bit beyond, we don't want guys down in there. So he contacted 3 different companies. There's another picture of what we're seeing down there. And his solution really is going to have to be a reinforced concrete pipe that would require a manhole and a catch basin in Denise Park. The issue comes about is we have a trench open out there, and we don't meet again until July 16th. So I'm here presenting it to you according to our purchasing policy and our comprehensive annual policy or comprehensive financial policy. I have some extra authority when these types of situation comes up. I am requesting 3 bids. We'll review those bids. Usually when this situation comes up, I'll contact the mayor and let him know what was received, and maybe we move forward with this project, repairing this. Marty expects it to be around 20,000, so we're not talking hundreds of thousands. That's something outside my norm, and I wouldn't do something like that. But I also wanted to present this to you again. That we kind of found out about 3 o'clock today, so there wasn't nearly enough time to get everything formalized. But that's what's going on with Denise Park. And again, it just goes back to when we build something nowadays, we have a lot of different specs, and we try to get it done right, because then it avoids this type of situation, even though this pipe's probably been in well over probably 15, 20 years, I imagine. So that's the update on Denise Park, and welcome any questions or concern on that if you have any.
How far does that corrugated pipe go? Does it go underneath the railroad too?
I believe I don't know for certain.
It does not. I've seen
But I
it.
think it's a ditch.
It does not. That's an open
Discharges
ditch.
into the ditch.
on the
Yeah.
railroad.
Okay. And the second question, is it possible we could do something? They've torn out a bunch of it now, but could we have done something like we do with the sewer lines where we line it?
That would be an Ann question. I think she's downstairs still answering questions from Cozy. I doubt it with corrugated pipe, and maybe Councilmember Dean has the answer to that.
I don't know that I have the answer that Ann would give, but I would venture to say that if the pipe's in that bad a shape, that they probably would not want to line it. But a lining expert could come out and look at it and decide.
And we're more, that with how far back he got, we're wondering what's going on underneath the park or the park. So we might do a little more exploring. So it might be till July 16th before it comes before you, but I'll give a full update when we fully find out.
That's the other question. How far north does it go since it goes
Exactly.
clear to the edge of the park?
Yeah, with regards to lining it, most of the lining is done on smooth pipe, and this is corrugated, so that's going to be a little bit of a trick to line that.
Just a question.
I
See
know.
if there was
I
an
know.
easier way to do it.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't blame you for asking. Good question.
So I'll keep you guys updated probably tomorrow before we know something more. But
All right, good.
fireworks, I think Mayor Benaj said it right, but just let everybody know, don't call 911, call Sedgwick County non-emergency number. Also, we really like to have all debris picked up before 10 p.m. or 10 on Friday, July 5th. So that's something to be mindful of. You always see a bunch of trash around, so pick up after yourselves. We'll be closed July 4th, but we'll be open July 5th. Rec Center has a lot of activities going on, so we'll be open July 5th. And then Kylie's been doing a good job of communicating our internal communication. I thought I would share a lot of work anniversaries go unnoticed, and Joe Buchanan's been with us 17 years in July. And if you know Joe, he's always got a smile on his face. He's a public works employee. And then Ann, she's not here, but I was going to thank her for her service. She's been here 9 years. And then Adam Goldsmith, I think that Councilmember Emily mentioned she walked around with. He's been here 4, but he's been here a little bit before. Hamburg, sorry. Drew a blank, but so that's all I have to report, Mayor.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Glad to see if we have some long tenured employees still. That's always a good thing. So great. Move on to ordinance resolutions and final actions. So item A here is we have opened and closed the public hearing. So it's now time to consider an IRB resolution. If approved, the bonds will be used to cover the cost of our acquiring, equipping, and constructing 2 buildings totaling 28,000 square feet at the cost of $3.7 million. And this development aims to provide more space for current and potential tenants, particularly home-based businesses looking to transition into the commercial spaces within Bel Aire. So Sarah Steele from Gilmore and Bell is here to explain the action and to answer any questions. Ms. Steele.
Thank you, Mayor Benaj, council members. I am here this evening representing the city on this matter. We serve as bond counsel to the city and are working on this particular project that Ted brought to us for approval. I understand last meeting you did approve the letter of intent, and we've drafted the resolution of intent along the lines of the letter of intent. It's for $3.7 million for a commercial transitional facility that will be leased out. The property tax exemption that is extended on this is 95% for the first 5 years, 75% for the last 5 years. Again, this is an industrial revenue bond that is not a responsibility of the city in any way, and you will not be obligated to make any payment. It does not count as city debt. So it's not your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the company WHAM Investments. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Steele? Well, I think we've seen a lot of these.
I
so
think you have.
I'm glad to see we continue to do these investments and keep growing the city. So that's always good. So thank you very much.
Very good. Thanks.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution if there is one.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of the governing body of the city of Bel Aire, Kansas, determining the advisability of issuing industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of financing the acquiring, constructing and equipping of a commercial facility to be located in the city and authorizing execution of related documents.
I have a motion by Mr. Welch, a second by Mr. David. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And I hear 5 ayes, so I assume there's no opposed. So that vote is 5-0. It passes. Moving on to item B. So on June 13th, the Planning Commission reviewed the revised final plan of Chapel Landing 7th. And the agent explained changes in the original plat due to geotechnical challenges affecting the street viability. That area's had some problems. On the drainage, the staff confirmed that Bristol Hollows deeded the Reserve A to Chapel Landing 7th, and a drainage agreement was approved by the city. So the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the revised plat, which now goes to the council for acceptance of public streets and right-of-ways. And this is a map of the area. Does somebody knowledgeable of this can help us understand what these agreements are between the Reserve A and Chapel Landing 7th? Because I looked at that map and I didn't understand it.
Thanks. Sure. So what happened during the very initial planning stages of this project is we met with the developer, Jay Russell, and in talking about this plat specifically, and he was trying to get the drainage along the west side of the property into that Reserve A, kind of the triangle area, this area in the center. And I said, hey, you guys have a reserve right behind these houses that would be Bristol Hollows Reserve A, which is right over here. Trying to think outside the box, would you be willing to entertain a conversation with the developers of Bristol Hollows to say, maybe we can share this reserve and share drainage responsibilities with it? It was designed to be a dry pond. I'm personally not a big fan of dry ponds because you have to have the exact specific weather conditions to when they're getting installed to get them to work. And if you guys remember, we had a big mess over there. We found the only area of Bel Aire that has quicksand. And it was like $100,000+ change order to get that fixed. So the reserve never really had a chance to get the grass established on the bottom, to get the bottom solidified, to really do a good job as a dry pond. We had talked throughout that process, we'd talked, and then when phase 2 of Bristol Hollows went in, we talked about the feasibility of making that into a wet pond, and developers just didn't want to entertain the motion at that point. So I took advantage of the situation and planted the seed and said, hey, do you think this could work? And they took the opportunity, contacted Bristol Hollows. They were willing to make it work. We got the drainage agreement, and then when it came down to when reviewing the drainage agreement, there was some terms in there and some agreements between the two parties that I wasn't terribly comfortable with. It was my thought that there should be the ownership and maintenance, and land needed to be correctly deeded. So we had correct rights to get in there, or whomever was maintaining it in perpetuity. I don't want the city to come up in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years later and have issues over there. So that was kind of the guts of it. It did take a while to get all three property owners, or all three owners of the LLC, together to sign it. So that's kind of why it's been back and forth and back and forth, been back and forth. But now we do finally have all owners have signed the document. It is formally been transferred to J. Russell. It is still part of Bristol Hollows, but it has been transferred to J. Russell. He will be owning it and maintaining it, and they will be working to turn it into a wet pond. So some of the eyesore that is out there right now will go away. So that was kind of the nuts and bolts of it. In working through some of the initial grading of the project, they were concerned with the elevation differences. So we ended up coming back with a revised final plat to Planning Commission at their June meeting. So that's what you see before you. The initial plat had a entrance onto 53rd Street. This cul-de-sac was actually an entrance to 53rd Street. And then this entrance was actually a cul-de-sac. So they changed that around to make the grading work a little bit better. They're very cognizant of the issues that happened on Bristol Hollows. They did not want to cut quite so much dirt, so because they were concerned about getting into some bad stuff. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts. I've reviewed it. I've got the revised drainage plan. Everything looks good. Planning Commission was good to go with it. The biggest concern on this was just dealing with the drainage. So we want to make sure that we're really set down the road.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you reaching out and thinking outside the box on this and not saying, oh, they're both in silos, they can't work together. And this is actually a good compromise, looks like. So thank you for working through that.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I also wanted to thank you for working with the developer to get a good sidewalk plan together. I know that was a part of the process too, and I think that's important for all our new developments to consider walk, bike, roll, and you guys made that happen on this. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
a motion to accept the dedications within the revised final plat of Chapel Landing 7th, Bel Aire, Sedgwick County, Kansas, and authorize all required signatures.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. One last time, any other questions? This is going to be a roll call vote, so I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Miss Emily Hamburg,
Aye.
Mr. Tom Schmitz,
Aye.
Mr. John Welch,
Aye.
and Mayor Jim Benage.
Aye.
And the motion carries 6-0, Mayor.
Thank you. On item C, so every new development in the city requires a development agreement, and this agreement spells out the responsibilities of each party during the construction and after. Staff and the developer have agreed upon the language contained in this agreement and is now ready for final approval by the city council. This agreement is concerning the development of Chapel Landing 7th, Bel Aire, which we just discussed the drainage issue on. So very good. Any questions or discussions concerning the development agreement? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I'll move to approve an agreement concerning the development of Chapel Landing 7th, Bel Aire, Sedgwick County, Kansas, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Ms. Hamburg. Any other questions or discussions? We'll move on to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Move on to item D. This is a city zoning code, places certain restrictions on use of residential zone property for other uses. And so this is for a daycare center. A couple who lived in a home on Rock Spring neighborhood request zoned R5, recently applied for conditional use permit to operate a daycare in their home. On June 13th, the Planning Commission reviewed the application and held a public hearing on the matter. The commission heard from the applicants and 2 residents. Following the public hearing, the commission discussed the noise and traffic concerns, and after discussion, the commission voted to recommend approval of the conditional use. The recommendation now comes before the city council for consideration. It is recommended, the recommendation is accepted. The ordinance in your packet may be adopted to grant the conditional use. Any questions or discussion concerning this conditional use application?
Were the other owners in the neighborhoods concerns addressed? I missed if you said that. Or were they still concerned?
The notes that I have, unless somebody here has been to the planning commission meeting, I was not present, obviously, but they did have, they heard from those applicants and they had a discussion about noise and traffic concerns, but it doesn't say how they resolved that.
So there was the 2 concerns that the mayor had mentioned. One was from a property owner that lives in 8614, so she's diagonal from the property in question. And her concern was the noise. The planning, she was concerned about how many children when they would be outside. And the planning commission listened to that, and the applicant said, you know, they're going to be inside a lot of the times. But when they're outside, you don't control who moves in next to you. You could have a family move in with multiple kids, not just 1 or 2, but quite a few, and you'd have a similar amount of noise. So
I think I read 10, up to 10.
yeah, I think they threw out the number 11, but you know, you never know who moves in. Even
Right.
5 to 6 kids can cause a lot of noise at times. And then the other concern was traffic, the increased traffic in the neighborhood. And Miss Laura is here she can speak if you have further questions, but
Are you the applicant?
yes,
Okay.
but there really shouldn't be any. She's planning on starting very small, 2 to 4 kids, and then maybe growing down the road.
Okay.
But you're not going to see drop-offs and are going to be staggered, so you're not going to see all that much additional traffic. There's space in their driveway for parents to park as needed.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
if the applicant would like to speak, you can come to the microphone and give your name and address and then tell what you would like to add. Did you have a question, Mr. Welch?
I was going to ask if this was a 24-hour or just like a daytime daycare or second shift, what hours it might be open.
Hi, my name is Laura Berrigan, and I'm at
Please
80.
please speak in the microphone because this is broadcast and recorded.
I'm nervous. Okay,
You can
my
move
name
it up
is.
if you need to. Move the
Move
microphone.
this? Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Laura Berrigan, and I live at 8601 East Chris Street. My hours of operation is gonna be from 7 to 5:30. Like she said, I'm able to have up to 10 kids. For me, I want to start small, from like 4 to 5 kids. I have my own kids as well. And then we have come to an agreement with the neighbor that came last time. I got her information. I asked her if there's any problems, she could come communicate with me. Like that, there wouldn't be any problems or any issues with her. Because I said I want to have like no problems at all with anybody. Do you guys have any more questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hamburg.
I saw it said a standard sign. Is that like a real estate size sign you're planning on using?
Just like a small little one, like in the front yard.
Gotcha.
Like a political sign size?
Yeah.
What we've seen, most yards are political signs, some have big ones.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, how they have like the for sale, kind of like that.
Yeah,
Like
same,
those little
yeah.
signs.
And then this is an annual renewal, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
I was comfortable with everything I saw, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to adopt the ordinance approving a conditional use permit in CON 2401 and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
A motion by Ms. Hamburg, a second by Mr. Welch. And this is also a roll call vote, so we'll ask for the clerk to please call the roll. Thank you for your information. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Miss Emily Hamburg,
Aye.
Mr. Tom Schmitz,
Aye.
Mr. John Welch,
Aye.
and Mayor Jim Benage.
Aye.
And the motion carries 6-0, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. And childcare this is a good thing because childcare is still a kind of a big issue around the state. So we're actually making a small addition to the contribution to resolve some of that problem. So thank you. The next item on the agenda is executive sessions, and we have two. How much time for the first one? 20 minutes, did you say?
15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, 20 minutes.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion for the first executive session? Item A.
I'll make a motion to recess into executive session to discuss with legal counsel and receive legal advice related to the Woodlawn roadway project. The discussions will be pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 for legal consultation with Attorney Neil Ghosh, which are deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Invite the city manager, the city attorney, the city engineer, and Neil Ghosh. The meeting will be for a period of 20 minutes. An open meeting will resume at 8 o'clock.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Welch, a second by Mr. David. All in favor, say aye.
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 That motion carries 5-0. And we're in executive session for 20 minutes. Somebody Okay, we held an executive session. No binding action was taken. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. And the next item on the agenda is another executive session. So how much time do we need for this one? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Meyer, I'll make a motion to recess into executive session to discuss CCUA negotiations pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 for legal consultation with the city attorney, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Invite the city manager and the city attorney. Meeting will be for a period of 30 minutes, and the open meeting will resume in council chambers at 8:33.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Welch, a second by Mr. Dean. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have, did Mr. Schmidt vote?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Okay. And any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. We're back in executive session for 30 minutes.
just be a 30-minute,
Yes, sir.
30-minute block.
Okay, well, the city, an executive session, no binding action was taken, and we're ready to move on to item 14, discussion of future issues. So the city council workshop is next Tuesday, July 9th at 6:30 PM. Want to make sure that is workable for everybody. Any objections to that? No
It's on my
concerns?
schedule. What are we
Do you-
talking about?
What are we talking about?
So we're going to go deep into the 2025 budget. New one. Yesterday morning, I met with Maria and Deb, our HR. So with starting a new ERP system, we have to have all the settings done the way we want them. A lot of those settings in the HR module require some personnel policy updates. So we're going to have kind of a longer workshop because we're going to go over some of the personnel policy changes we're recommending just so we can have the ERP set up exactly how we want it and not the way our current policy is. So there'd just be a lot of little bit of technical changes and then some questions for you at the end of the workshop so that we can vote on it on the July 16th meeting so that we can implement them into the schedule of the ERP. So the next couple of workshops, we're going to look at utility policy in August for the same exact reason. So a lot of this is forcing our hands on getting our policies up to date, and that's been a fun process.
Okay, very good. Good to know. All right, so that's the July 9th date, and then anything else we need to talk about in future issues? If not, we can move on to adjournment.
Adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. David, second by Mr. Dean. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Too bad
Go
if you
home,
don't want to, but we're adjourned.